In the fabled land of Northern California, nestled in the Valley of Sacramento, two friends begin a journey to enlighten the world about their experience living life as a Xennial. But what is a Xennial, you may ask? If you wish to know, then follow them on their adventures.
Welcome to the Xennial Chronicles. This is James.
This is Mike.
And we are here after Thanksgiving and after Black Friday to just kind of have a after Thanksgiving, after Black Friday discussion.
Yeah.
Mike, you worked Black Friday, right?
Actually, I did.
Let's roll it back a little bit. You had Thanksgiving. Like
yes,
most
I
Americans
actually
did.
hosted at my place.
You hosted. How was that?
It was much more calmed down, more relaxed this time than it was the first time I did it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, it's nice.
Who made the turkey for the night?
Dad made the turkey. He actually made two. He barbecued one and smoked the other.
So, I mean, fast cooking over fire, slow cooking over fire. Same.
Yeah, pretty much.
Same basic application.
There was a different flavor to the smoked. It was great.
Yeah. You know what he used? What kind of wood he used?
I do not.
That's not a proper flavor for the discussion, sir. You need to have that kind of information.
I am so sorry. I wish I did.
I'm disappointed in you. I'm very disappointed in you. And so, if I remember correctly, when we were talking about the lead up to Thanksgiving, you guys had a lot of different food items that you had set up. Like one that threw me, I think you said you had macaroni salad or potato salad or something to come with.
You know what, my brother? Okay,
did he forget?
So my brother was in charge of the macaroni salad. He forgot the macaroni salad.
Did he bring beer?
No.
Okay.
He brought a ton of tamales. So he had tamales at Thanksgiving.
I'm sorry, but that's a win. Like macaroni salad v. tamales.
Yeah, no,
tamales
I was like,
are gonna
what?
win.
Yeah, sure.
What kind of tamales?
He told me like the night before. He's like, yeah, dude, I forgot, so I'm bringing tamales. Pork
okay,
tamales.
I'm good with that.
I think they were mainly pork tamales. One was just like regular, good, old-fashioned pork tamales. The other ones were hot as hell, and we still got a couple of them left.
Nice.
I love me some spicy tamales, man.
No, I mean, that's a win because like.
Oh yeah, it was great.
I always have personal issues with macaroni and potato salads.
I get it.
Difficult things for me.
I get it.
Especially because most people like to either underseason them, which is a very big issue. Of course,
yeah.
There's a group of people that'll say it's a white people issue.
You know, hold on one second.
Yeah,
hold on.
what?
Now that I think of it, I think we did have macaroni salad. There was macaroni salad with deviled eggs on top of it. So that's how.
Why would you spoil your deviled eggs in that fashion?
It works.
No, just because there should be eggs in a macaroni salad.
Yeah.
So just have the deviled eggs separate, because then
we did also have develed eggs.
Because
I got a family who loves the hell out of deviled eggs.
I love me some deviled eggs. I'm not allowed to have them very often, though.
I can understand why.
We
keep the window open.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
It's definitely a problem with gaseous emissions.
Oh yes, for sure.
I eat 2 eggs every day anyway, so don't add to the pile already.
Okay, so I've got a thing that you should try actually. So my family is not big on. My family is
farting
not big on
each other.
No, well, definitely most people aren't, but.
Oh no, man! I let it.
My
fly.
family is definitely not big on sweet potatoes.
No, me neither.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so
especially not for Thanksgiving.
It's worth a try for something that my wife made.
Okay.
She actually made it's like a sweet potato meringue casserole type thing. It sounds
weird,
different from what it actually tastes like.
Okay.
There's sweet potatoes in it. They're there, but they're not like, you know how the problem with sweet potatoes most people have is they'll have sweet potatoes with their turkey, with their stuffing, and with their green bean casserole, which we had, right, and their real potatoes and mashed potatoes, and it just doesn't fit because you've got this strange sweet,
it's
differently textured.
Weird.
Yeah, it's got potato texture, but it tastes
it's
like
not
a mild sweet
white potato texture.
Yeah, and it's just it's
a little more stringy almost.
It's almost Here's the thing, and my wife was talking to me about this. She was like, "Well, you like pumpkin pie, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not the same consistency. It's a mild sweetness to pumpkin pie, but there's a different flavor to pumpkin pie than sweet potatoes. It doesn't taste the same.
That different flavor, by the way, is ginger, allspice, and cinnamon.
I do not know which of those things may have been put in this sweet potato meringue casserole. However, because of the meringue, it actually turns it into a dessert dish rather than a dinner dish.
It makes sense.
So it actually works that a little bit. And I love Tang.
There's
sweet
potato pie, which I've had sweet potato pie before.
Yeah,
and it's very, very similar to pumpkin pie. Mm-hmm. There are differences, mind you. The texture is the biggest difference.
Yeah,
but it's very similar to it.
Yeah, and it's really weird.
This was more of a dessert meal. This is more of a
dessert piece. Take it after the plate. Grab some of it, have it along with pumpkin pie. You might dig on it, kind of a thing.
I get it.
And we have some of it left. My family was not convinced to even think of trying it.
Yeah,
most of them.
I get that.
I get it. I have an aversion to sweet potatoes myself. I share that with my family.
My
wife really actually is a fan of sweet potatoes, so it's very different. She tried, and I honestly, I don't think it's a bad dish. It's actually probably the only sweet potato dish I actually like. I am not saying that to suck up to my wife. I am saying it because I legitimately believe that. It's good. It just wasn't something that you would have with dinner. It's something you have with dessert. That's the way it fits.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
But yeah, we did all the other stuff, dude. We had Dutch apple pie. We had
I'm finding Dutch apple pie is the thing I like.
Pecan pie.
What kind of pecan pie?
I can't remember what it was called. It is a pecan pie.
Okay, but what happened? What was different?
I can't remember how it was prepped. I'm going to have to tell you maybe on the break or something. We'll have to check.
Did it have alcohol in it? Was that what it was?
No, there was. Okay. Wait, there was bourbon in it. It was like a bourbon something pecan pie or something like that.
I've seen it. I think I may have had one once. I think my wife made a bourbon pecan pie once.
Cool.
Very, very good. Pecan pie I love.
Yeah, totally.
It's very I have seen it done wrong where it's more pecan soup than it is pecan pie.
Ooh,
but if it's done right, it's super sweet, but it's one of the most amazing pies that you'll have.
Oh man, yeah, you have to try that out. I had some of it. It was good.
Yeah.
I had some of that. I had some of all the pie. Come on, man. It was Thanksgiving. Yeah, eat all the things.
Yes, definitely.
You have to eat all the things.
Definitely. Well, those people who are listeners and who are on our Facebook page might have been lucky enough to see my posting of my plate for Thanksgiving. And,
yes, I did see that.
We keep it fairly simple at our house. It used to be we'd have a lot of people come over for Thanksgiving, but now it's just whoever lives in the house is there for Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is doing their own things, but we keep it simple with just the turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing or dressing, whatever you want to call it. It does not go in the bird, but I don't like calling it dressing because dressing is what I believe you put on salad. Just personal way of naming things.
Yeah.
But we keep it very, very simple. It's just those kind of three basic things. There's some the jellied cranberry sauce for people who like that stuff. I don't. But yeah, we make it easy and simple. That's all you have. Giblet gravy, which is kind of the big thing. I don't know if you've ever had giblet gravy as opposed to just like powdered or jarred or canned gravy. Homemade giblet gravy.
Oh yeah.
Like you actually take pieces of, when you get a turkey, it has the neck in it and it has the giblets in it. You actually cook those and then use pieces from the giblets in the neck with some boiled eggs. Boiled eggs have to be in a giblet gravy. You have to have cut up boiled eggs. And if you don't have cut up boiled eggs in it, it is not a traditional giblet gravy. It's just one of those things. It seems weird. Even your look is like boiled eggs in your gravy.
I have never thought of
actually
eggs
works.
in gravy.
It actually works.
I mean, most of the gravies I've had are from a can or powdered.
Yeah,
so.
no, this homemade giblet gravy. It's one of the things that my wife has specialty with, especially when it comes to doing the Thanksgiving stuff. All right. Like I take care of the bird and I take care of the mashed potatoes, and for the most part, I take care of the stuffing.
Cool.
But the giblet
gravy, man.
Gravy is all about.
Nothing beats a good gravy.
And of course,
we had a decent gravy. I don't know how it was made. We had a decent gravy. A lot of the stuff was brought to us.
Yeah.
After the fact.
Well,
or brought to us, from family. We all,
pitched in
participate,
together.
Man.
No, and that's where Thanksgiving is a little bit different for me. I know we have discussed it before. I'm very particular about my turkey, and I do a brine on my turkey. I firmly believe that everybody should have brine turkey at some point in their life, just because the difference between brine turkey and regular turkey, cooked any other way, especially just straight roasted turkey, in the oven like most people do, where they're opening the oven up and they're basting their turkey, or they try to cook turkey in a bag. I've seen the people do that. No, Reynolds, like the company that does aluminum foil.
Yeah, Reynolds Wrap.
They sell a turkey bag for you to cook your turkey in. It's supposed to hold in the moisture. I'm just telling you right now, people, brine your turkey. Brining your turkey is if even if you're smoking it, by the way. Even if you're going to smoke your turkey, if you brine your turkey, you'll make it even better.
I do not know if this turkey was brined before it was brought in. I think it was just straight up.
No,
just straight up smoked without brined.
I won't do it.
We're
way.
pretty. My family's been pretty straight ahead when it comes down to Thanksgiving turkey prep. You know,
yeah.
When it takes like 2 or 3 days to cook something. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's totally worth it. But it's whether or not you want to take the time to do it.
Well, and then that's the thing for me. I only do turkey a couple times a year, and so when I do it, I make sure to brine it out because
for sure
it's gonna. And it also helps that my wife makes our own. Turkey stock and chicken stock and vegetable stock. So I can use those as my base for my brine and have tons of flavor added into whatever I'm cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of flavor. So, lucky me. But yeah, we kept it simple. I posted the picture. The turkey was fantastic. And then directly after posting that picture, I went shopping. Yes, sir. I braved.
You posted the picture, and then I'm assuming you ate it before you posted it.
Okay, yeah, I ate it before I posted it. I took the picture, ate, posted after I ate, went shopping.
Yeah,
I braved Walmart on Black Friday.
You are out of your mind.
I got to tell you something. I was disappointed.
You know what? I have a couple of things to say about that.
There
was a lot that was going on. Some stuff that I heard that it's just.
There was stuff
I'm not happy with.
There was stuff that just wasn't there.
It was just gone?
No, in comparison to other years, there was no stuff. There was so little.
There's a concentration on online markets.
Yeah,
like a severe concentration on online markets this time. It's been pretty. The numbers are showing, man.
I got the one item that I absolutely needed to get there. Well, the two items, the one for me and the wife, and the one for one of the kids. I got those items that I needed to get there. But everything else was just, I'm glad that that's all I was there for, because all the other things that you could get, normally they have tons of cheap movies and video games and whatnot.
Yeah.
Nothing.
None of the bin stuff, like $3, $5 movies or
No,
anything?
they go down to $2 on Black Friday.
I know. I'll always walk into a Walmart and there's that paper bin that's sitting there that you just pull collections of movies.
And I'm not saying there was...
You get your horror movies, man. Get the Friday the 13th,
all
double, triple,
together.
quadruple feature. Well, you know what? Best Buy has a lot of those DVDs, those comp DVDs. They're really good. Every year they've got just scores of them on one disc.
See, and that's the thing is, every year that I've gone to the Walmart Black Friday, there's usually an aisle that goes from the front to the back of the store that's between the grocery section and the clothing section, right?
Yep.
Now, normally the middle of that aisle is filled with these pallets that have this cardboard setup on them that have all the movies in them and stuff. There were maybe 5 total pallets of movies. That's it. And one of video games. 5 total. And one of video games.
One pallet of video games?
Yeah.
What were the rest of them, the cheap TVs
there was
and
nothing.
stuff, or what? What?
Yeah. There was nothing else. There was a bunch of different clothes stuff. I know, I felt like it was, and we were only there 3 hours after the door had opened.
Yeah.
That's the time I normally go. And it's still normally crazy. Nope. And I think you're right. I think online sales. I know that somebody I was talking to was wanting to get a computer that day. They had a HP laptop for $150.
Yeah,
it wasn't a great one, but they were just looking to have a kind of a newer, upgraded computer.
Yeah, totally.
And within on the day before Wednesday, they had stuff start going on sale online. And within an hour of it being on sale online, it was sold out completely.
No
way.
They
had no stock available anymore.
Dude, that's insane.
So I think you're right. A lot was much more of a trend to the online sales and a lot less in the stores.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so the numbers actually came back on that. And I've been tracing. I've been looking at that, paying attention to it through the weekend. On Black Friday that day, retail sales in general were 8% down from their projected number.
Wow.
And they projected a reduction in sales.
So they projected low, and it got even lower than the projection.
It got lower than the projection.
Wow.
Because I'll tell you, as somebody who's working retail and watching the retail environment, there is a lot less people that were hired this year, especially on a permanent. In the seasonal, there's a lot less people that were hired, and there is a lot less merchandise that's on the shelves from the retail establishment I work at and every other one. I'm seeing places left and right start to go as far as just losing stock on a mass level, and it's mind-blowing. But get this, online sales up 20% from projection.
Wow.
Yeah, and they expected an increase, and it shot way past that.
So this
was the whole thing I was talking about, man.
Yeah,
most of it was done. A huge
happening.
amount of it was done sitting on the couch Thanksgiving without having to leave the house.
Actually, I'm sure. Actually, you want to know what probably happened? Most of the places like Walmart and GameStop, Target, they started some of their early sales the Sunday before. We did, and I'm thinking that was the start of it, because I know that. Well, actually, it was the Saturday night before.
Yeah,
the Saturday night before, because I know that I made a major purchase that Saturday night and picked it up. I was able to pick it up the very next day on Sunday at a location.
Yeah,
and it's like. I mean,
if you've got that convenience, why the hell worry about having to go out on Thursday night just to grab
everything.
A deal?
I mean, that's why I bought it. It was the same. The thing I bought had the same deal roughly at every major location. And there was nobody that was giving anything more really for it. So I bought it online.
Yeah.
Was able to pick it up the very next day without having to fight anybody. I just walked into the place, showed them my my email from the purchase of it, the receipt purchase of it, and they had me sign some papers and walk out the door with it.
Yep.
And there was no line, there was no waiting, there was no fighting people. It's just walk in the store, go up to the counter, grab the stuff and go.
Like a regular day.
Better than a regular day, because I didn't have to stay. I didn't have to stand in the. They had a separate area at the counter set up for that, for the online orders. I didn't have to stand in the regular line dealing with all the regular stuff. I just walked up to that area of the counter. They found my stuff. They had it already set aside. Boom, done. And the convenience of it was amazing. And it's interesting because I think that there's I think that it's again this cultural thing. The older generation still, the boomers, the Gen Xers, they, I think, wax nostalgic about the experience of waiting in line for the Black Friday stuff. And it's almost like it's almost like they feel like you need to have the physical experience of the waiting in line to really capture the essence of it. But like, why though? All you're doing is getting gifts for people, or maybe even gifts for yourself. Why do you have to do the whole waiting in line if you can do it easier? And
that's what I'm saying.
The convenience and the ease of it.
Yeah, you don't have to go out in line. You just go online. And like today is, we're recording these podcasts on Mondays. Today's Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
Now it's a double whammy for online.
Yeah,
because they were kicking in on Sunday beforehand, the entire week coming to massive deals on Black Friday that went through Sunday, and then another hit on today.
Yeah, you had the pre-Black Friday that happened either Saturday night or Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And then you had the stuff that was the actual Black Friday doorbuster stuff that went on sale Wednesday night.
Yep.
And then now you have the Cyber Monday. This is, it shows the revolution.
It's kicking hard, dude.
I honestly am, I'm just going to kind of do some of the postulating out again with my whole
Go for it, bro.
My whole cornea implant whatnot idea, but just take it to more of a thing that's like nowadays. There's going to come a point when I know there's the devices, because I see them I see the Muppets advertising them now on TV. These devices through, I think it's even a Facebook device where the Portal, where you hook it up and you can talk to people through your TV and whatnot.
I have an aversion to the Portal, but I totally understand.
Yeah, well, I have an aversion to anything that's listening to me other than, I know my cell phone's always listening to me.
It could just be me like sounding old or whatever, but like I have an aversion to that Portal. Okay. My wife has an Alexa. I hate it. Because it's an Alexa. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. The purpose is to find things to sell you, but it's very convenient to just talk to a thing. It's like, hey, get me more of this stuff, which she doesn't even use it for that. She just uses it to like Google search and to look up stuff and all that. It's a cool device. It has certain features.
I just want to say that's the reason why slavery existed for so long, because it's really cool just to be able to say to something to go do something for you, and it does it. That's why slavery existed for the majority of human existence. But,
that's terrible. You're right, but
now we enslave the robots, and then they rise up, and then Keanu Reeves saves us all. But anyway, actually, Keanu Reeves technically didn't save anybody in those movies,
or Arnold
but whatever.
Schwarzenegger kills everybody. It's one of the two, right?
One of the two, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, who would win in the fight?
Oh, that needs to happen.
Well, is it happening in the Matrix? Because if it's happening in the Matrix, obviously Neo wins. If it's happening in the real world, does he win?
What if he can hack himself into Skynet? Like
so he could literally take
the virus Skynet from the inside.
So but you can make the fight happen in like Arnold Schwarzenegger's brain. Right?
He just looks like he just looks like, when he's freaking out, and for some reason I see him freaking out in Total Recall, like the when he can't breathe and when he's on the surface of Mars. Yeah.
He's doing that. He's doing the freak out, and then you cut to inside his brain, and Arnold and Keanu doing wire work. Both of them doing wire work.
Yes.
You got to get a lot.
I am so there.
You would have to get a lot of people to pull up them wires for Arnold. Just saying. So that was a little bit of a diverging of the conversation.
I like that. That was good.
Back to what I was thinking of is there's going to come a point with like the VR devices that we have that people can do, because like this is the thing I get from the boomer that lives in the house. Which, by the way, over the Thanksgiving break, I made sure to use the phrase "Okay, boomer" at least 4 times. So,
did you count, or did you have a specific number that you went by, or was it just like you decided?
I know it happened. It was a count thing. I know it happened 4 times. It may have happened more than that.
That's great.
But 4 stuck in my memory of actually happening.
Okay.
One of the times was within my wife's hearing, and she got mad at me. So she's like, "Really, you had to say that?" Yes. She doesn't even know what you're meaning by that. I know, but I'm still saying it. That makes it even better. But anyway,
okay.
Anyway, point being, with the grandmother that lives in the household, the boomer that lives in the household with us, she'll send me grocery lists to go pick her stuff up at the grocery store, because often I go to the store by myself. I don't necessarily have people with me, and oftentimes I'm not able to take the grandmother directly to the grocery store to do her shopping.
Okay.
So she'll send lists of different things. There are certain items, though, that I make sure to take her, because some of the things she really wants to be able to look at and feel and see and make a decision on.
Yeah.
Imagine using the VR technology that we have now to make it possible for the people who want to be able to have the store experience of seeing the shelves and seeing the things on there.
Yeah.
You can log on to the app. And I know you can look at the maps you have maps of the store, and you can find out where the things are on the various aisles.
Uh-huh.
But wouldn't it be great if you could have it, again, on a smart TV? You could log on to an app that would take you to a VR rendering of a store. The store doesn't even need to exist. But it can be a VR rendering of what the store would look like.
Yeah.
And you can walk down the aisles and look at the shelves and see the various products on the shelves in the way that you're used to seeing, that this generation, the boomers, the Gen Xers, even the Xennials are used to walking in a store and seeing the stuff that didn't grow up with being able to look at it online and look at it through apps and look at it through that. Because there are times even when I'm searching through apps and I'm looking at the stuff and I'm like, that looks cool. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'd really like to be able to see it, to hold the package, to see the packaging, to see what it is, to see how it feels. Especially when you're buying certain things. Certain things you want a certain heft and weight to, or lightness to, depending on what the thing is.
I get it.
You want to have that physical contact. Now, that's because that's what I'm used to. I'm used to having to go somewhere to get something.
Yeah.
Using the VR technology, be able to give people the VR makes it a little more realistic. But even if you could just watch it on your TV, a walkthrough of the store, so that you could go through and look at the store shelves and then be able to order that way. Point and click ordering system that way
with VR.
Yeah.
You know what I think? Don't people shop for cars like that sometimes?
People, I think there's some car
you
shopping
could, like,
that's
just
like
look
that.
on your phone, like the interior of the car or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. Imagine if you could do that for grocery stores as part of this whole ordering things online, and people.
You know what that means, though? You would basically be able to put out an outward appearance of a store and an experience in VR and never have to have it. Like, it could just be a flipping warehouse with fridges in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine what that could change.
Well, that would severely cut down on cost on, having to present a store. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then physically what happens to everything once you get out of the house? Where do you go? What do you do? I mean, how Demolition Man is this going to get? You know what I mean?
Well, the question comes, what do you need to get out of the house for?
That's
why
the part.
But why do we need to get out of the house? I mean, that leads into a deeper discussion.
I mean, that leads
to
the point where it goes to like major, like, how do you meet people? What do you like? Part of
online,
part of that, yes, but it's not the same experience.
But it is for the younger generations.
Is it?
It is. It is for some of the younger generations. Meeting people online
Like I said,
is actually
I know I'm sounding old
connection.
here, but it sounds strange to me. And maybe it's just because I grew up meeting people.
Yes,
meeting people.
I'm not saying it's not strange. Believe me, I feel.
What
the
about
strangeness
education?
too.
What do you do for your education system? Are we taking this to the nuclear level? I mean, I'm assuming.
I mean, seriously, think about it.
Right.
How many colleges are offered online courses now? How many degrees can you get online?
Yeah.
How much better would it be if you didn't have to actually physically go to school? Think of the infrastructure costs. You don't physically have to go to school. You can do your classroom work on your own time, at home, studying the coursework as you need to. And if you as an individual need extra help, it's available to you through the various websites, computer applications, whatever, through the education system.
I'm curious about something.
Think of I'm just thinking of if you didn't
my brain's kind of going off on multiple tangents at once, but one of the points that just came up to me is what kind of naivete will that feed to people that never leave the house or interact with other people? What does that create?
I don't think it creates a naivete at all. I think they have the capability.
Because all it takes is one person to learn how to take advantage of a lack of experience of other people in order for them to get ahead in the worst ways. Like I'm talking like either robbery on the street or political uprising.
Well, no,
I mean,
I get you on that, but keep in mind
coming to power using the experience of other people. That's people could call that out all the time.
That's been happening since humanity has been around, man. Why
True,
do you think that? Again, back to the slave.
How much easier is it going to be when you remove the social aspect of it?
Go back to the slave conversation, the little bit of slave thing I threw in earlier. Why do you think that people who had slaves and kept slaves, nations or civilizations that had slave peoples within their borders, kept the slaves? Why do you think they never wanted to educate the slaves? Why do you think the United States didn't want to educate black people for the longest time?
Of course,
you educate that population, suddenly they have the ability to basically control their own fate, and you don't want them to control their own fate. So that's a story that has been replicated so many times in human history.
Oh yeah, indeed.
That's the whole point. This would be just another version of a story that's happened before. And again, it's based on what technology you make available to people. Now,
that's true.
And this will do this. You'll
see a very. It sounds very. It's weird. I have this. There's a conflict.
Well, actually,
I have a mental conflict in processing it, but at the same time, it sounds very Star Trek-ish to
have
that kind of independent
let me throw this
but at the same
you.
time, it removes a lot of the worldliness and interaction.
But it doesn't, though. That's the thing is. The way that we were taught about social interaction, in fact, the way we were taught about dealing with school is how important social interaction was, making friends, being involved with people.
Yeah.
These newer generations are making their friends via the digital roadmaps. They're doing it online. They're doing it. I have a relative of mine who plays Xbox, games on Xbox Live. Mm-hmm. And is part of different Xbox Live groups playing games with a bunch of different friends. Okay. This relative is female. Okay. She has, on multiple occasions, gone to meet the people that she has played these games with that live relatively close, live within an hour's drive.
They're local, but,
She has gone to meet these people, having never met them before in person. Just goes to meet them.
I was going to say 20 years ago, 10 years ago, that would have been out of the question for anybody.
A little over 20 years ago, before I met my wife, I was on some of the early, kind of messaging sites talking to people.
Rocking that IRC
and I met somebody who was about 2.5 hours away, and got to talking. I was single at the time, a little bit of flirtatiousness going on. Yeah. She wanted to meet me. I was an adult. I was 18, 19.
Okay.
My parents were so concerned, as was I, about meeting somebody from the internet.
Right.
That my parents took me to go meet her because they were concerned about it. And as was I. I'm a guy. Okay? And they took me to go meet her. Kind of backfired because she was ready to hook up and I had my parents there with me. So it wasn't going to happen that way. She was content, which maybe was a better thing because she was already content just having talked to me online. She was roughly the same age as me, maybe a year older. I'm not sure. But she was content with me staying with her for the weekend. If I had come down to see her, I would have been able to stay with her for the weekend and had probably all the fun I wanted to have for that weekend. But that's also a little scary to think about.
Yeah, when you think about that, there's no...
Was I the only person that's happened to?
Well, I mean, not just... you got
with
not
this,
just that.
With this specific girl.
Lord knows what happens, like whether or not you're going to end up in a...
Am I going to get drugged to Vegas and super drunk and get married to somebody that I barely know?
Yeah,
what the heck's going to happen?
Yeah,
Am I going to wake up in a bathtub with a kidney missing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. There's a possibility that could go down.
Any of those things.
Well, especially like you're thinking about that kind of stuff back then. That stuff's still possible.
But this.
What's the difference
again,
except for the fact that there's a lack of fear due to a lack of experience?
I don't think
right?
it's a lack of fear. I think it's the difference in the level of communication and the way that they communicate. They feel like I think the medium that they use for communication gives them the ability they feel to be more real and honest than face-to-face communication. I think they feel emboldened to be their more true self because what they find is by searching through these various groups and getting involved in these various groups online, they find people that are like-minded to them that have the same, again, same likes, same dislikes, same orientation of the world, viewpoint of the world. Because think about it, man. Think about your time back in high school. Think about your time out of high school, your first jobs, all your different things.
Yeah.
You would seek out people that were more like you, that had the same the same things that you liked. I'm not saying that you weren't open to making friends with everybody because you're a friendly guy.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you'd be seeking out people that liked kind of the same type of things that you did. Not everything the same. But like, if you were going to be hanging out with people and talking music, you were more looking for people who were listening to hard rock, heavy metal music.
Right.
Even with a country background like you had with your family, there's still going to be hard rock, heavy metal music kind of thing going on.
I get it.
And so this makes it so they don't have to search out those people that would be part of their social group. And again, think about your current social group. Think about the people that are your friends. How many of your friends regularly listen to top 40 pop music?
Right, I get it.
How many of your friends regularly sit around and watch Japanese anime movies as their only movie or their main movie to watch?
I really, it's funny.
You know what I'm
saying? I get it. I know what you mean.
Or how many of your friends only watch like critically acclaimed Oscar nominated movies?
Right. You
know what I'm saying? And that's the thing is we find our social group that we fit into, and this medium gives them an easier way. They don't have to go searching for these people. They don't have to work through the different people. They can just become a part of a group where all these people kind of have a shared interest and a similar view of the world.
Yeah.
And
I think it helps. Let me try to see, because I'm starting to perceive something here that I'm not quite sure that's something you're specifically saying, like something you're exactly explaining, but so. What it doesn't touch on, and I'm seeing the possibility of it, is that you're saying that your relative is meeting up with people that have similar interests, and they don't have to search out with other people and have that social anxiety in order to find these people.
Yeah,
that I understand, but it's also just as easy to sit behind a computer screen and say that you are into those things.
The
danger is there.
Yes.
Now, that being said, the question comes down to whether or not, and I will go with this because I kind of understand where you're coming from. The question comes down to whether or not you want to continually be afraid of that possibility. Well, how rare is that possibility?
I think there's that, but I also think that, again, we're looking at a generational shift. And I think that in the specific type of interactions that many of these younger people are looking at and having in these things, they are not the type of interactions that are as rife with the duplicitous nature of the person on the other end.
Interesting.
I mean, think about it. Who falls for the Nigerian prince scam? Is it millennials? Is it Zs? No.
Right.
It's boomers.
Right.
It's Gen Xers.
Right.
They're the ones that fall for those scams because there's certain there's certain language that is used in those scams, in those kind of trust me and then get fooled scams.
It's targeted at
at people that are by nature going to be people that are going to be scammed. I think this is more, and
I'm curious what the Gen X scam and the millennial scam are going to be. I mean, other than large political ones.
Well, I mean, there's already the catfishing.
Yeah,
that happens within those groups. But I think what is seen here is these are groups that are of the same age. Mm-hmm. Again, millennials talking to millennials, Z's talking to Z's, that are having these connections online. And they have that same mindset of they're trying to be more real online. Online gives them the ability to be their true selves without having to deal with all the social niceties. And they can still be their true selves when they finally meet the person, but they've had enough time to build some kind of a trust between them before they meet each other. And it's foreign to us because for me to build trust with you as a friend, it's about more time that we spend together, the more things that we do together, the more that I know, for instance, I can look back, it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
But I can look back at the time where we worked in the same establishment. Mm-hmm. And while, yes, at that point, I was technically the person in charge, you were technically the worker. Mm-hmm. We had a good relationship back and forth where I trusted you to be able to do the things you needed to do. You trusted me that I wasn't going to just string you out and blame you for crap like most managers do to the workers. we had a back and forth discussion, and to make sure that you were able to get as much of your job done as I needed you to do, I would take on other things to free you up to do that.
Right.
How many times was I sitting on the register taking care of all the people while you were out doing the duties so that you didn't have to do your closing duties and then stop in the middle of a closing duty and go work the register and then go back to a closing duty? That's the most annoying damn thing in the world is when you have a job to do at a retail establishment and you have to get pulled off the job that you're doing to go take care of something.
Yeah,
it's so much easier if you can just focus on your job, get your job done, and have somebody else take care of that for you. I did that to try to make it easier for you. That was a working relationship back and forth.
Right.
You normally don't get that in I hate to use the term, but a manager-subordinate situation. Normally the subordinate's making the job easier for the manager. Right. I felt it was appropriate to make the job easier for whoever was there working. We wanted to be able to work in sync to make the job work right for the night.
Well, yeah, and that's the difference between, that's the difference between a leader and a manager.
Exactly.
I've heard that a leader
So you're saying I'm a leader?
A leader would pull the cart at the front, guiding everybody, and is in the middle of the mess.
Yes.
The manager sits on the cart while everybody else is pulling, and the manager's trying to tell them what to do to make their job easier.
Yeah.
It's about a cohesive teamwork. Yeah. And if everybody is under the understanding that this one person is an equal, yet they are guiding us, they are far more likely to
follow and
follow
want to be part
behind
of it.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
And support. And see, that's why when we went into doing
a leader guides his peers, a manager commands subordinates. There's a difference.
Yeah. And that's the thing when I broached the subject of doing the podcast with you, I knew from previous stuff that you and I can have a cohesive working arrangement.
Right.
I also knew that this was a different scenario because in the creative part of this, we're equals. Mm-hmm. But as I've said many times before on here, in the actual production and the work part of this, you're the badass that does all the work. And I am very appreciative of it because you're the one that has the knowledge to do all the work and you make this thing happen. But that's the thing is having that be able to be the backwards and forth of this, having you knowing how much I appreciate the work that you do with it and me not trying to give you more work or take any of that work that you do for granted.
Right.
That helps to keep this thing kind of going.
Yeah.
And that's how we build relationships is over time, over working. This newer generation doesn't build them in that way, man. They see them in a whole different fashion. And
I can get behind that. I can understand it. It's just something that I'm getting used to watching happen. You know what I mean?
It's weird for us, and that's where the school thing comes in. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, I want to talk to you about how the school impact of this weird vision of mine, that of this whole VR online different vision of things. I'm going to talk to you about the school impact because I'm sure you realize, but school is actually the one way, public schooling, no less, is the one way that we continue in this country to keep uneducated people, poor and uneducated.
Oh, boy.
We continue to do it by the way that we have school structured. And
Okay.
I believe that if we were to change that structure in this way, we could change the whole way that people are educated in America and make it better.
I'm ready to hear it.
Okay. We'll take
All
a
right,
break right now. And when we come back, we're talking about school.
Hey friends, this is Mike from the Xennial Chronicles reminding you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Xenchron, spelled Xenchron, to keep up to date on all things TXC. And please check out our official website, thexennialchronicles.com, or if that's too much to type, Xenchron.com. Thanks again for listening, and now, back to the show.
And welcome back, everybody. This has been an interesting conversation because we went into this not knowing what we would talk about, and now we've divulged on a really weird set of topics. But it's topical because it is about the shift in the Black Friday shopping. It really is, and how that shift could even go further with more of the online involvement with people.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we started.
I kind of
with the
like,
original
yeah,
premise.
I like where things have gone so far. It's gotten interesting for sure.
So I said we were going to talk about school.
Yeah,
Now-
what's going on?
Okay, first of all, let's have the caveat here that I do know a little bit more about where the education system is right now than Mike does, and that's mainly because I actually have children in school.
Yeah,
and Mike does not.
I don't. I have seen the most I've seen about the current education system is Gen X and Boomer parents complaining about Common Core math, and that's probably about it.
Which I find the most amusing because literally the Common Core math is how my brain actually does math.
It was actually once I started figuring out other methods. Like
Yeah.
I started figuring that out as a kid. There were always other methods to reach the same answer, and sometimes I would come up with the right answer without being able to explain how or
Yeah.
why. But
Yeah.
I knew how it worked in my head.
Well, that's I used to have to do multiplication and division in my head when I was shopping with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
She would make me do that to try to figure out what the best buy was. This is before you could find out how much, like a can of beans. Beans are the example I use because that's the one that my mom really used to teach me on.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, when you're at Walmart, it'll tell you how much it is per ounce.
Yeah.
It didn't used to tell that. It just used to tell you a price. Because I mean, back in the old days, it would just tell you the price of the thing.
Yeah.
If there was even a sticker on the shelf, sometimes the sticker was just on the item itself.
Mm-hmm.
People go around and sticker the items, so you just have the price of like $2.99 for this can, $1.50 for this can, and 99 cents for this can. So you would have to figure out, a 12-ounce can, a 20-ounce can, and a 48-ounce can,
Right.
and you'd have to figure out how much it is per ounce, and then by that, which one's the best buy.
Right.
I mean, there was other layers on top of it, but I would have to do that kind of, you have 99 cents, and it's 99 cents for the can, and it's 12-ounce can. How much is that per ounce?
You'd break $1 by 12.
Yeah.
1/12 of a buck.
Which is how
Essentially,
much?
I would just, I don't know that.
And that's the
I
thing
can't
is-
convert. Yeah, that's one of the things I never did right off the top of my head is I can't convert.
It's not
I
as
cannot
easy as
convert
you think it is.
fractions to decimals. It was never something that got me.
I think it's like 8.8 cents an ounce. I think
8.8
that's what
cents
it
an ounce.
roughly
Oh,
is.
wow, that's pretty good.
I
Man.
mean, because the way I did that, here's the way I did that. So like I said it was 12 ounces, right? Mm-hmm. So I did what a third was, and then what a sixth was, and then what a 12th was. So a third,
you would just
a
take
third
it
is,
and half
a third
it and
is
half it and half
33.
it.
A third is 33. You half that, it's 16 and a half. You half that, it's roughly 8.
8.25. Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah. No. Good call. Good call. No, that's where it is. You break it down that
that's
way.
Where that's how my
where-
brain did the math, and that is very much
That's
what Common Core is set up to do.
I found it really funny that there was you're absolutely right, and I ended up doing stuff like I would.
And
always,
by the way, I just pulled those numbers out of my butt. I did not set
no,
that
that
up
was
ahead
good.
of time.
That was good. I would say that probably most. I get that with addition subtraction.
Yeah.
What's really funny now is when you add, is you think of the two numbers you're adding and then think of the destination, or at least that's where it was. If you know what the destination is, how do you get there? You know the first number, you know the last number, what's the number that fits in between?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time when people are doing, when people were doing that, they were thinking, okay, this plus this needs to equal this. But if you know the destination, if you know the destination and you know the start, finding out what's in between is literally counting up to the destination.
Yeah.
That's counting change.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is. So parents freaking out about Common Core are sitting there expecting the retail worker on the other end not to use a calculator,
but to count
the change back. And now everybody can do that.
Perfectly.
Yeah. These kids are now that have been on the Common Core education system are just out of high school now. That's what one of the biggest
The problem with
processes of the Gen Zers. They know that now.
And the problem with the way that Common Core math was rolled out is a similar problem to all of education, in that they come up with a new idea and they just roll it out in a blanket thing and not realize that what Common Core is it's one way to reach people and teach people about math, but it's not the only way, as you said earlier. It's not the only way that people can learn math. Each person's brain is going to learn it in a different fashion.
So they teach all of the different ways of destination, and then
But here's the
can
thing.
then choose which is the most effective for you.
How can you do that in a single classroom?
You can't.
But you could do that online and have multiple classrooms that kids could be a part of.
But how do you? Okay, so then what you're talking about is testing the kid before you actually find out what online course is.
It's not even necessarily testing the kid.
You're looking at an aptitude test. Is it an aptitude test or is it a?
I wouldn't say an aptitude test is appropriate. I would say there's a almost similar to a personality or behavioral type test.
Okay, yeah,
that the kid could take to kind of get an understanding of how they see this specific thing, how they perceive math, for instance, is the good example. How they perceive it, what makes sense to them, and be able to channel them into a course that teaches in the way that they can understand it.
Okay, yeah,
but here's where I was what I was alluding to before we had our break. The idea of how education is still being used to keep people poor and keep people uneducated. Do you know how schools are funded?
Property taxes.
Great. So in a nice neighborhood, property taxes are high. The schools in that neighborhood get lots of money.
Yes.
What happens in poor neighborhoods?
Property taxes are low. Schools are not as well funded.
And as a result, the education suffers.
Yeah, more kids per classroom, the lower the teachers are paid, less money for curriculum. It just all goes down the line.
What if we could cut down the overhead of the actual campuses, books, all of these various things?
You remove the material costs and turn them into online curriculum.
And then turn them into being able to, at any place where you live, no matter where you live, you can access the same level of education through the online curriculum. Now, admittedly...
Stop it, dude. That just makes too much friggin' sense.
Admittedly, one of the things that would require for this is that every American has access to free, unlimited internet access, internet stuff, without having to pay an internet service provider.
Okay, so in order to do this, that would mean that the medium would have to be essentially government funded, right?
Yes.
So internet would be a utility.
Yes. Well, not even a utility.
Which would make a lot of sense.
It would be a basic necessity for survival and for education. And again, the cost.
I am of the belief that centralizing a single payer system for most utilities, most major utilities, makes sense.
Would be, yes.
I am someone who, and you know what? Don't at me, but I would say.
Are you giving some rage hate for
not really
electric company?
Not necessarily, but I believe personally that electricity, especially after the experiences that I have had more recently, and most people have had more recently, it's very hard to argue the logic that corporatized energy over a government-controlled energy source makes sense, especially being that you can break yourself of that. And not easily, you still have to own a house in order to be able to do something like that. Well, actually,
here's what I say about that. If you are legally required to have the power to have energy, for example, if you're legally required to have electricity in the house to be able to live in it and not have it condemned or have you be kicked out of the house for not having it.
Right.
Because why would you corporatize that? In a normal city setting, you are legally required to have electricity in your house. You cannot have it shut off.
And what sucks is on the grid that you're at, dependent upon the location that you are in order to be like you are stuck with either one company or another company. Yeah, you
Sometimes
don't have
only
the
one
choice
company.
of okay. Like here's the thing, man. You want to talk about freedom of choice. You want to talk about capitalism on its best If you want to talk about that free market capitalism, essentially, okay, you should be able to, if you are going to fight for the corporatization or energy as a business, a utility as a business, you should be able to choose which company you decide to go with.
That's how capitalism.
But you can't do that. It depends on where you move, and that sucks. That's dumb. It doesn't make any sense.
And what's funny about that is capitalism wants to give you the illusion of choice. But in truth, it's whoever can dominate the market that controls the choice.
I'm not talking about the system. I'm talking about the theory.
Yeah, no.
This is not. Yeah, this is outside of that.
The theory is that you should be able to have choice and be able to by the consumer's choice. They should dictate the market in capitalism.
That's exactly what capitalism is supposed to be. Of course, it's not how it works in execution.
Yeah.
But we're talking about if you want to argue that this is the way that the world is right now, or at least the way that this country operates, you need to understand the fundamentals of it and the reason why it's supposed to thrive in its involvement. Now, you should have the choice of that. Does that mean that certain parts and pieces of that need to be controlled in order for the freedom of the market
that's a whole other discussion?
That's a whole other discussion. Now, personally, when it comes down to me, anything that comes down to a necessity of a utility in order to, just like you said, a necessity of a utility that is required by the government to not
required by law.
Yeah, if it's required by law, like if you have
I would say something like another example to use would be car insurance. Car insurance is required by law in the state of California. You cannot register your car without car insurance. You can't drive without car insurance. If you're caught driving without car insurance, the ticket prices are more than you pay for a year in car insurance. I'll tell you that.
Now, here's the thing about car insurance, though, is you can choose whichever company you decide to work with, no matter where you drive.
True.
That in itself is enough. Like multiple
that
companies,
gives you the choice.
You have any choice. You could go to Progressive, you could go to AAA, you could go to Cost You Less, you can go to the General, you can go to anybody.
And that's why I was using.
I think those two are the same. I think the General is something else, right?
Well, I think the General is
the General is different
from
from Cost You Less. I think they were related at some point.
The point being, that's why I was using that as an example to give you as another example. That is a good example of how the market is open for you to be able to choose something that is legally required for you to have.
Absolutely.
And as a result, you find you can find yourself getting lower prices. Now, part of the deal with some of the lower prices oftentimes is whether the coverage is as good with the lower prices from one company as it is opposed to another. But that's part of a free capitalist market.
Exactly.
Is making the choice.
If you have the funds in order to afford better insurance, then you have the choice to do so, and that's fine. But that doesn't stop somebody from getting insurance.
But as far
you're
as
required to get insurance, and the lowest cost company at least gives you the minimum for the state.
Exactly.
It's illegal to sell anything less.
Exactly.
So there are standards and control, but that is an example of the choice that you should have in something that is required for you to do something. That's where I come in at that. Like, look at water. Water most of the time. Like, is there a water company?
No, most of the water. Actually, funny enough,
out here we have a utility. We have a utility that we pay, and we pay to the city.
It's a city run thing, which technically
trash is city run.
Yep.
That's
all those things.
saying.
All those things are run by the city, and technically should be run by various tax dollars. But that's a subject for a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Back to what I was saying about the internet,
because we're looking at if you want to involve the education system with the internet in such a well-rooted way, you need to regulate and government control the internet and have it basically free, have it taxed and free, just like everything else.
Here's a way to do that very easily and not have to give it to
free
individual.
Is not necessarily you know what I mean.
Yeah. Here's a way to make it available in ways that don't have to involve running a line to everybody's house. Set up Wi-Fi spots that people can connect to
on the street
that are set up
street Wi-Fi.
That's set up for anybody to be able to connect to.
Yeah,
for anybody to be able to do whatever they need to do through it. Mm-hmm. Or if anything, have them set up with school IDs like they do now.
For God's sakes, run the lines in the damn ground, will you?
School, they have to have a school ID and password to log on so that they can use it for their school purposes.
Right.
And so have that available to people, and have it available at the same speeds no matter where they live,
Question.
no matter what neighborhood.
Is it education-specific Wi-Fi?
Yes. Do this for education.
You can't get Wi-Fi for entertainment purposes.
Sure, just do this for I mean, think about the fact there are certain areas where there's no cell towers, or there's less cell towers, so maybe you get a little less cell communication and not as good of your 4G cell phone internet.
That's one thing you have to. Consider is Wi-Fi or internet in rural areas.
But if they were to build in the infrastructure for those things to happen,
right,
the cost to build in and keep those infrastructures are going to be considerably less than the cost that it would take to maintain the school sites all the time.
I wonder how powerful the Wi-Fi would have to be in order to provide Wi-Fi to every house.
As powerful as it is for cell phones.
And
as powerful as it is for cell phones.
You can run video on cell phones.
You can run video.
I'm curious
if
you could just go satellite-based cell tower type internet.
Think about that. And be able to log in.
Aren't there people that have 4G, like internal 4G Wi-Fi?
So to be able to
4G Wi-Fi with no phone line communication?
I'm unsure. I will have to ask my Metallica and Volbeat friend. my super tall Metallica Volbeat friend.
Okay.
He actually installs that kind of stuff for a living.
Oh, cool.
So I don't want to name him on the podcast, but if he's listening, he'll know who I'm talking about.
Cool, man.
Because he's the only like super tall. Actually, he's not the only super tall Metallica friend I have. Scary. Anyway, but he should know again if he's listening.
Your friend who does does
installing.
Yeah,
of
does
satellite things.
Works in communication.
But the thing is, having that available and having it available in a way that anybody from any walk of life can access the same things.
Yeah.
Get into the same classes, have the same level of stuff happening, and be able to learn at their pace in their way. Have other materials available for them. It's not just the basic classroom teaching.
Yeah.
Have the teachers available to do one-on-one sessions with them online. Now, the key is there is one group of kids who I don't think would benefit from this as their entire form of education. And actually, no.
Who would that be?
I think all kids could. I would say that there are some special needs kids that qualify for special needs education that may require some actual classroom time, because a lot of the times one of the major issues that their classes work on is their social development stuff, because they specifically do not have the capability of literally the basic social skills of just talking to people,
right,
or being able to work in any kind of public setting. However, even with this setup, you can have, even with this online schooling setup for for traditional standard education, you can still have times where they do field trips, and the kids from certain areas, certain geographical areas, in rotation meet up to do field trips to like a museum or a zoo, like they do nowadays. They have the kids do field trips, but instead have them all either get picked up or meet in an area to do it. Have some more parent involvement. That, of course, requires that the companies and corporations of this country give parents time off to be able to do that stuff with their kids.
Right.
But I'm saying there's a way that we could, and it would be a full systemic change. It would completely take apart what has become the education system as we know it. But by doing that, our lives are headed towards a world where majority of our interactions are going to be computer-based interactions. Online interactions. Our shopping is turning that way. You can order your medications online and have those delivered to you. Almost every manner of food now is being delivered to you. Grocery store stuff delivered to you. Sometimes, like you said, you don't need to leave your house unless you want to. The upside of that is, think about how many times you have to leave your house to go shopping, to go run errands, to go do this and that and the other thing. And it's frustrating. It fills you with kind of anxiety. You have all these things you have to get accomplished, and maybe you only have so much time to do them because of whatever time constraints you have of being away from the house.
Okay.
What if every time you left your house you did it for pleasure instead of having to go do things?
Yeah, I get it.
I don't think it would remove some of the experience of stuff. I think that it may even, like many things that I've discussed before, it may even heighten the experience of going somewhere, buying something, buying something in an actual store, as opposed to every time you go to the store, you're going to the store again, you're going to the store again. If it only happens rarely that you actually physically go to the store, maybe it becomes more of an event. Maybe it becomes more of a thing. Another example for you.
Okay.
Kind of on this same vein. This weekend, I was at a airport, at the local airport, like the big local international airport, to pick up a family member who had flown all the way across the country to spend Thanksgiving with somebody. I'm sitting there waiting for the family member to get off the plane, late at night on the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And a bunch of people are coming in from all their trips to go visit family through Thanksgiving. And it's funny because if you look at any old black and white photos of people flying, or if you talk to any boomers that talk about how great flying used to be, people would dress up to get on a plane. They'd wear their suits or their dresses or their nice clothes to get on a plane and be wearing that. And you see people now in just pajamas and, which is normal to see out in public anyway, people doing that. But you can almost tell the people that were used to flying on planes, that were regulars doing it, and the people that for them it was a newer experience, something they didn't do as often. And it's a different feeling to it. Like myself, I don't know about you, but I've never been on a plane before. Not in my entire life.
Oh yeah, I've been.
There's nobody that lives that far away that I really want to see badly enough.
Okay.
To get on the plane to go see.
I understand.
But it's used to be a bit of a fear of the idea. I still have a little bit of fear of it in the sense of I don't do well in super enclosed spaces, and I really don't do well when somebody else is driving, regardless of what they're driving. If I had the ability to fly the plane myself, if I had learned how to, I would rather fly the plane myself than have somebody else fly it for me.
Okay.
Just because at least then I'm in control of my fate and not leaving it up to somebody else.
Okay.
And yes, I don't ride on buses if I don't have to. I don't ride in the car with anybody else driving if I don't have to, because I need to be in control. Sorry, control freak. But anyway, hey, it extends to everything, man. But the idea of there is some when you do something like that, like if I was to go fly, it would be a big deal. There'd be a big deal made about it. Going through all the stuff, it'll be this great new big experience for me. But then there's those people that do it for like work, that fly to various places for various work things and whatnot, that it becomes almost second nature. It becomes like just a thing to do. It's what we do. It's part of what happens. You know, think of a store that you haven't been to in a while, right? Mm-hmm. And when you go back in it after, say a couple of months away from it, it looks different. It feels different. The experience is different. And I almost think that I think that you'd find some slowdown of traffic in retail places, in public settings. But I think that while there would be some slowdown in it, I think that the times that people did go out, people would go out and seek it for that experience, for the experience of really being there as an experience and not just part of what they have to do on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would become something more enjoyable. And I also think that it may cut down on shopper frustration and shopper stupidity. I don't know if you remember from years ago, but I love telling the kind of I don't know if it's a tale, it's an analogy, it's just my interpretation, I guess, on shoppers. I firmly believe that when somebody walks into a store as a customer, they lose between 20 and 50 IQ points automatically.
Okay.
They just become stupid. Now for a smart person, losing 20 IQ points still keeps you smart.
Okay.
For a stupid person, losing 20 can make you stupider, and losing 50 can make you even stupider. And the 20 to 50 comes into play on whether you know the place that the product that you're looking at, the place that you're shopping at, something like that. Like, let me see if I can use an example. If you were to go into a vape shop,
okay,
you lose 50 IQ points. Walking
I
into
can
that
understand
vape shop.
that. I have no clue what the hell's going on.
You have nothing to. Yeah, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what the things are.
I think my first order of business is to increase my IQ at that point.
Well, if
that's why I'd be like, there, I don't know anything about this.
If I sent you there and I told you to pick up a specific thing there, you'd be like, write out the specific thing that you want.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
So that I can show the paper to the guy and say, just give me that, please, because that's all you would know to do.
Yeah.
Or if you were to go into somewhere like a fabric store,
yeah,
you'd be kind of somewhat lost.
So, such as the same case if I were to send you off to an electronics store.
If you were to send me to an electronics store, yeah, I mean, unless it's something that I'd be like, send me with pictures or like a physical written description of what you need.
Yeah, totally.
Now,
I wouldn't send you off without doing that because I know.
Now, like a music store, you may not lose any, or maybe that very bare minimum of 20. And it would depend on whether it was a music store you worked at previously, or have had experience in, or shopped in regularly,
right?
Or if it was a brand new one. But you'd still know what you were going to look at,
right?
Because you know the gear. This is something that's in your background. Somewhere even selling computers or something like that. Somewhere it's in your background. You understand these things.
Okay, so I've got a question.
Yeah.
About the IQ thing.
Yeah.
Is this IQ thing more of a
I've only talked about one component of it.
Okay.
There's the second component, and the second
component is the
customer component of it. The fact that you're a customer, the entitlement of being a customer.
Okay, because I was looking at, I'm still kind of concentrated on the IQ thing.
Well, that's part of the IQ. You lose part of your IQ because when you're operating in that entitlement customer identity, you're the customer and you're entitled, you suddenly stop thinking as much. Because you're expecting the people that work there to do the thinking for you. It's part of that entitlement thing. You don't use your brain in the same way because
so question.
You're the customer. You don't have to.
We're not necessarily looking at entitlement as a negative thing now, are we?
In this sense, I am, yes.
You are? Because
Yes.
then here's the thing. That's the reason why those people are at the store, to help you.
They are. I understand that.
So-
I understand that they are, and that's the point. Is you're seeing that they're there to help you.
You should be
and
able
as a result,
to go there and expect to help. That doesn't mean that
you should
have to be a
you should-
jackass about
no,
it.
you should expect the help, but the problem is you don't, because you expect the help in that way. Anytime you expect somebody to help you to do something, your brain is still not working necessarily as hard as it needs to if you have to do it on your own.
That makes sense.
And that's
I
where
can
that's
understand
where
that.
that comes into play.
Okay.
And certain people do it to a certain to different degrees. Again, there are some people who will have the people that work at the establishments help them in a way that supplements what their brain is already doing. Mm-hmm. And there are some that walk in and they're not going to be bothered by trying to find the things or reason anything out. They want the person who's getting paid to do it because that's their job.
Right,
So
right,
not
right.
my
right.
job. They're here to help me get what I want, and they're going to do it. And I don't have to think about it. I'm going to tell them what I want. And even if I only give them a half-assed description, they're supposed to know because that's what they do.
Right.
And that's where that entitlement can be a bad thing and helps add to this.
I can understand that.
Okay? Here's the thing. If the people are coming to do their shopping more for pleasure and not for the going to have to get the things they need to because they need to go get them,
Right.
I believe all of that can be reduced. Because when you're
talking
enjoying
the stresses and all the
the
other
stresses
BS,
of the
right?
shopping, the lack of it, this IQ drop, it can be reduced because one, you're going to a place to get something that if you're going for the experience of it, because if you have to shop for something you don't know about it,
Right.
you don't know enough about it. If you're doing it online, you're trying to gather as much information as you can as possible before you make the purchases.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say, like the electronics example. That's a perfect
Okay.
example.
Okay.
Say you're sending me to, or you're telling me to get certain electronic things, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to go in there dumb, not knowing the electronic things,
Right.
unless I've done some research. But even then, that kind of dumb can actually be easy to work with for the person working at the store.
Right.
Because I'm dumb in the sense of I'm not, how do I describe it the right way? I may be dumb about the equipment and stuff,
Right.
but I'm hoping that the person can help me, and therefore I'm going to be an easier customer to deal with because I'm searching for that information from them. I'm searching for that person to be a helpful thing as opposed to that person be my servant and slave. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
You get what I'm
yeah,
saying
but
there?
okay. All right.
I'm still going to be, and that's the
I can understand the assumptiveness of the attitude of the customer in your case, and I get that. But so I have another question that's
go
kind
ahead.
of somewhat related to this, though. You're considering the possibility that with the ability to shop for necessities
online.
online, shopping, going out and shopping becomes a luxury.
Yes.
At that point.
And it becomes an event more than anything else.
Okay, question.
Yes.
The main question that I have is when can that become when at that point does it become lucrative to do that? Like, when does it become lucrative to open a shop? Because at one point, if everybody's doing their shopping online, then keeping the lights on in a building that is designed to attract people for leisure shopping, unless you're like Tiffany's or something, that becomes, if it's no longer a necessity to go there for that thing,
it does.
For everyday items.
Yeah.
At some point, it's not going to be lucrative to keep the lights on.
No, it's
right.
You're correct. You're correct, and that's the thing is
that's how rare shopping would end up becoming.
It could
as
be,
well as
yes.
it.
There are some things I think would still need some
And
physical shopping.
Yeah.
For instance, I think what you'd find is you'd find places like a Walmart or a Target or any of those big stores. Those places would go by the wayside and disappear.
Right.
And what you would see instead is more of the reemergence of the small markets that dealt in things that were more
Local stuff?
I wouldn't say local stuff as much, although local would be a big
Kind of
issue.
like
of
Old
it.
Town Sacramento shops and stuff?
No, I'm talking more of taking care of the more perishable necessities that are not as easy to get ordered online or not as lucrative to do online. For instance, while you can order these things online,
like fruits and vegetables, and stuff, right?
vegetables, meats, cheeses, things that people like to things that people like to have a deli counter for, to go and get the meat at the various deli counters. And you can order you can order meat online. I understand that. You can order the vacuum sealed frozen stuff online and get it that way. Even fresh stuff
but you can. I was going to say, because you could do the Whole Foods thing too. You know what I mean? You could just do the Whole Foods thing online, go out and pick it up, or have somebody DoorDash it to you.
But that's the thing, is having those locations for people to go in. I can tell you this much: when it comes to like produce, I don't want necessarily somebody else picking my produce. I've done one of those.
Now that I understand.
I've done one of those meal things where they send you like the various stuff for you to be able to do meal planning and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the produce that they send out was god awful compared to some of the produce I've
dealt with that issue before. We've done that.
So what you're looking at is a downsizing. So most of these places like Walmart, instead of it being staffed the way it is with all the lights on, like you say, with all the people running around doing the things there, it could be a warehouse situation, and they could be located as close as they are to all the different population centers, or even closer, because then you don't have to worry about parking for customers. You don't have to worry about all the extras that are necessary to have customers in the building. You could have it as just a straight warehouse setup like Amazon has done with all of their 1 and 2 day delivery warehouses. You can set those warehouses up where they're still getting the trucks just like the stores are getting, but they're shipping the stuff out and having the stuff delivered. And it could be how they do the door. They do the to the door delivery now. The increasing of that to the point where half the people they're hiring maybe for the facility are drivers to do to the door deliveries with things. And you don't necessarily have to have the main store. You can do smaller stores, like for instance in the town of Lincoln, which is just north of Sacramento, fairly close to where we are. Where we are is a secret, but fairly close. There's what's called a neighborhood Walmart. Yes. Which is a much smaller version of Walmart. It basically is the grocery side of Walmart with a little bit of the pharmacy and the pet food, and that's about it.
Very strangely green too. Like you walk into a Walmart, you expect like blue and yellow.
Yeah, and
it's green and yellow. And the colors don't mix.
It is a little weird there.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that is even if you were to take that store and make it half the size that it is, and make it literally focus on the baked goods, the deli, the
basically
produce,
the perishables,
and then have a pharmacy where people can come in and maybe have that capability. Just because I think pharmacies are one of the things that even with delivery, it's still nice to have a pharmacy to be able to come into if need be,
just in case. Yeah.
But have that in a smaller setting. You have less people that you have to hire to work directly with the customers. You're more focused on those specific things, and you still have people going out to get those things. Maybe make it the fact that maybe set up that there could be still the daily delivery of those things at a price, but have it available for people to come in and pick their own fish or their own steak or their own, their lettuce, their tomatoes, their apples, their whatever.
Totally.
And some of that you can source with local farms. Some of it will still need to be shipped in. So those type of establishments will still exist. You can still have, as much as it's great to be able to order coffee and have coffee brought to you, there is coffee shop culture to still have coffee shop culture. There is still the ability to have restaurants, because as much as you can have the stuff delivered to you, it's also considered a luxury thing to be able to go out and sit at the physical restaurant. It's an event.
Yeah.
Shopping in many of these stores is no longer an event. It's a chore. It's an errand. It's a task we need to do. If we can turn the task and errand part of it into something we can do from the comfort of our home, and make the time going out to the store be the event that's happening, that can change everything. Something like
it can change a bit again, but it comes down to whether or not it becomes lucrative enough to open that. Now, when you're talking like reducing those things, and certain small necessities would make sense.
Keep some of your frozen food available still.
Yeah.
And still have stuff that
just
people
a little bit, just in case.
And still have things like chips and soda and things that's very similar to a convenience store setup.
Yeah.
Where people can just come in and grab it when the thought is there on them, but so they don't have to order it and wait maybe a day or two for it to arrive.
Right.
But have it be in such a smaller and more condensed setup to where you're keeping things that are necessities that people may need at a moment's notice, instead of these huger, more money needing facilities that you have now and be able to have so much of it shipped. You're talking reduce on overhead. You're giving the convenience of people having the things delivered to their door, and yet still maintaining that actual brick and mortar site where people can come and have the experience of doing the shopping, especially for those people who only want to order so many things online. They actually want the physical experience of shopping. Have those still available. And I think that, I think that those type of business models could actually work. There are still some things that, still some things where people can have a small boutique place where they make things and they have the stuff there that they sell, but they also have an online thing where people can order. And yeah, it still works as having both physical and online, retail establishments. Both of those will still work. Something like a place that does tuxedos and wedding dresses. Yes, you can get measured by a computer nowadays. You can use your phone and a computer to do all the measurements you need for things like dresses and tuxedos. But honestly, that's one of those things that it's still better to do in person. Part of it is the experience. Going with your, brides going with their bridal party or their mom or their soon-to-be mother-in-law and picking out the wedding dress and trying different ones on. There is a event to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we can make those things more of an event. Make the fact that, again, when we originally were on this second half talking about the school thing, have events where the school still gets together for events. You can still have football. The thought would be, we'd
that was
lose
one
things
thing I wasn't considering. Is the possible, like sports. How would you do that?
Easily, very easily.
Like you would have to have some kind of facility that allows you to practice and to play games,
which still is going to be a lot less than what a school is going to have,
and all that kind of stuff.
It's still going to be a lot less than what a full school would have to have.
Right, but that's true. I agree with that.
If you could have a gym that has a basketball court in it, has lockers for people to be able to get dressed up in, and a football and baseball field, which the football field can double for lacrosse and soccer if it needs to. Boom, you have everything.
I've got a question. What would happen to the entire teaching staff?
They would be online teachers available to help the kids through online interaction.
So they would essentially become tutors at this point.
No, they can still teach. You can still teach kids online. The college courses that do teaching online, there's still teachers attached to those college courses teaching the courses. Yeah,
they create those curriculums, but it's mainly text. I think it would.
Why can't they do videos and upload videos of them teaching the stuff?
What happens when you have a question right there in the middle of it?
Fantastic. They can take them in the middle of it. Have you ever been in a TV class before?
I have seen them. I have not been part of one. I have taken online courses.
Yeah.
And they are mainly the online courses I dealt with were text only.
Yeah, some of them
and
are.
You had a teacher that could correspond with you via email, I guess. But
how about this? Let's say it's a math class.
It was very distant. I didn't even meet that teacher face to face at any point, and it felt very awkward to me. But that could just be because I'm of a different generation.
I was going to say, think of the words you're saying. Meet the teacher face to face.
I totally understand.
Here's how many people are watching YouTube videos to learn how to do things now.
Totally.
And they can connect to the people that they're learning how to do it from.
True.
I mean, my turkey...
You got a point, man. You got a point.
My brine turkey that I do, I got the recipe from Alton Brown from Food Network.
Cool.
And I'm sorry, I feel like Alton Brown has been my teacher for all of my good food stuff that I've done. I feel connected to him. If I met him, it'd be like, dude, you've been in my head so many times, it's amazing. But here's the example of it. Let's say the teacher records the video of the lesson, right? The lesson's recorded. Let's say that specific teacher is assigned so many kids, let's say 20 kids to watch their lesson, right? And the job of the teacher, since teachers are salaried anyway, right? The job of the teacher is for this time of day till this time of day, which is the time of day that the kids need to be working on their lessons. Say we don't let them do it whenever they want to. Let's say we set it up during normal school times, right? So she has the 20 kids that are in this math class. Okay, she, he. I'm saying she. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be gender.
They.
Anything.
Sure.
They have the 20 kids that are in their class that they take care of. They post the video in the morning. Let's say it's a 45-minute lesson. Okay. During that time period that they're working, they're setting up to post their next video for the next day, record their next video for the next day, and they're available as the kids are watching the video to have the kid question, okay, at 16:25 in the video, you show this equation on the board. How does this work? And they can either text back and forth or, message back and forth, or there's the option, if it's necessary, to actually video chat back and forth to answer the question and to show what they're doing and try to work it out between the two of them. And that's how the teacher spends their day. And so you have the capability of maybe the teachers being able to work from home. You have the capability of so many different things that could be done. Teachers work from home anyway nowadays. I mean, they take all their work home and they do all kinds of crap outside of the hours that they are in school. Imagine if they could do that stuff in a different type of environment like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we don't have to worry about the whole summer vacation crap either. Now,
don't have to worry about it, or your kid's home all the time. One of the
well,
two.
And that's the other. That is the only real downside.
Change up to the parents, man.
The only real downside is it does require that your kids are basically home all the time. Although,
what happens to the parents as far as leaving for work and that kind of stuff? Is that that's kind of part of it. School does. That's a good counterpoint.
That is,
school does end up as partial daycare for kids up until they're about 18 years old.
Well, I'm going to leave the conversation, since I've given all the information I need to about this, all the thoughts. I'm going to leave the conversation with this. I am a firm believer that the best way for a family to work is to have at least one parent be able to be home. Now, I know that that's not very possible in the world today. I know that's a very difficult thing with the way that our country is set up, and both parents typically have to work to be able to make enough money for the family to survive. And I get that. And there's no condemnation from me in any way, shape, or form for whatever way a family needs to work to make sure that they're making the money they need, keeping the roof over the heads, keeping everybody healthy and safe and whatnot.
Totally.
But I do think it's better to be able to have a parent at home. And wouldn't it be great if, this being one of the many changes that can happen within our society, where the parents can be there, be integral in helping the kids get through school, show them the value of becoming educated, and help be a part of that, be there for the full support for them all the time. And then, on top of teaching them the school stuff, teach them how to actually exist in the world as far as the responsibilities of keeping a house clean and why we do the things that we do to keep things up. Yes, it's a systemic change on everything, but the thing is, this is what I've laid out so far is in many ways a far more realistic, though not as likely, but far more realistic version than my ocular implant idea. You know what I mean? This is something that could happen, that could change the face of the way that we do things. Heck, what if the parent is somebody that also works from home?
Because absolutely. You have that capability. I think it'd be kind of cool to have two parents be able to work part-time gigs
and be able to afford it
back and forth, and be able to afford one day mom's home, one day dad's home, or one day mom's home, one day other mom's home. Who knows what that situation would be? But thank
you for throwing the other gender components in there.
Totally. Think of the possibility that the parents switch off home time.
That would be fantastic.
And then, I could split that. How much less stressing would that be?
You say it's funny that you say that. I've been a stay-at-home parent for many years now, and I mean those things are changing because of the way our situation is. But it's not necessarily a big deal that it's changing, because it's just a shift to a different person being out of the house and the other person being at home and dealing with the stuff at home, not because of any gender issue, but because of what society, or what life has thrown at us personally as a family. Yeah. But it's refreshing that I have a relationship with my kids in a different way than what is the traditional expected relationship for a father to have with their kids.
Yeah.
And I would hope that I'd hope all parents, fathers, mothers, whatever, have the experience that I've been able to have with my kids. And that's not to say that my wife doesn't have a great experience with the kids as well. Her relationship with them, they like her more than they like me, which is, I can't blame them. I like her more than I like me. So my kids have good taste. But the point is, having that ability for both parents to get the experience of being with their children, raising these beautiful things that they've created, that's great. And having something like that, there's so many possibilities that you can see people having with this kind of a shift in. Heck, kids could start at an early age. They can do their core fundamental stuff, their math, their reading, their basic science stuff, and they can start at early ages, starting to specialize in things that they feel an aptitude for, a connection to, and have those available for them in this education platform that could be so much more open. That you have those kids that want to study and learn more, give them the capability, the option to learn more. You have those kids that struggle, give them the things that can help them to get through the struggle a little bit better. Make those tools available for them so that they don't have to fight through a stupid bureaucratic system to get those tools.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many ways. But anyway, that's I think going to be it for our conversation today. We don't want things to run long like they always do.
No, that was nice, man. I kind of like the speculating of all that. That's actually kind of cool.
It would be, like you say, it is very Star Trek-y in the
Isn't that like the ultimate, like...
Well, I mean...
Like, situation, I think it'd be awesome.
I just want to comment, that's where the new 3 movies fail. By the way, the one thing that they fail at, as fun as the 3 new movies are with Chris Pine as the Captain Kirk character, as fun as they are, as great and as they are to watch, they actually fail at the basic tenet of Star Trek.
Yeah, it's this. The science and the philosophy has always been a concentration.
Well, it's
to me the society in general, the way the society operates.
Yeah, it's a societal. The idea that Roddenberry came up with was a near almost utopian society. Yeah, and when you get the introduction in the second of the new movies of Khan, sorry for spoilers for like 10-year-old movies, but. He doesn't have the same weight because the humans are still very violent creatures. Whereas by the time that when you have Khan in the original Star Trek series, humans have evolved past the point of having these internal conflicts as much. Right. And to see somebody that's such a kind of harsh and combative person is jarring in their society, and it's also reminiscent. You mentioned I think Demolition Man at some point. Yeah, reminiscent of the San Angeles that exists in Demolition Man, and how much of a clean and scrubbed society that is, and just the slight harshness of a murder, death, kill is in something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, thank you all for listening, Mike. Where are people listening to us at?
Well, you can listen to us at our website, thexennialchronicles.com, or if you don't want to type that much, you can go to zencron.com. Speaking of Zencron, you can find us at Zencron at Facebook and Twitter. We also have our podcast available on TuneIn, Spotify, Google Podcast, and I believe you can actually do a search or manually type in our URL on Apple Podcast and get us on Apple Podcasts as well.
Nice.
Speaking of which, we only have a certain archive, I think like 8-10 podcasts. We got a bunch of them that we've done. If you want to dip into our entire archive of podcasts, you can come straight to YouTube, our YouTube page, search for the Xennial Chronicles on YouTube. Like the video if you're listening to this on the video. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon when a new one comes up. You'll actually get a notice then.
Dude, the bell. The bell is good.
The bell is good.
Click on the bell.
Click on the bell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next week.
You guys have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in, friends. The journey continues next week.